Let's get ready to rumble! Ladies and gentlemen, superstar speakers are proud to welcome to the live stream. He is a Team GB boxer. He is a two-time gold medalist. He is Mansfield's own. Please welcome the next big thing in boxing. Nico Leivars is here.
All right, Rob, how you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Thanks. I'm all good.
Good. How's lockdown treating you, pal?
All right. I had to temporarily readjust things and change the schedule, but we're all sorted now. All making a positive light of what we've got in the situation. Still training hard. GB have been good with that. To be fair, they've kept all the training plans coming through WhatsApp. Regular touch with the coaches, the nutritionists, the physios and everything. So for me, it's no different to when I'm normally up in Sheffield on a camp, but instead of being there, it's all been done through Zoom and WhatsApp. So I've still pretty much got the same routine, apart from the fact I'm doing it from home. But there, I'm lucky I've lived with my coach, who's also my dad. So
yeah. Is he just as hard on you then?
You know what? It's been a very constructive few months so far, because we've had a lot of time to sit down and like dissect my boxing and add new things and work on things that normally we probably wouldn't be able to do because we've got sparring coming up or we've got a fight. Whereas now we know we've set out a time where we can afford to work on more technical things and try and add them to our boxing without having to rush it. So that's a positive that's probably come from it.
Is there a big difference then for doing that kind of thing and then when you're preparing for a fight? Because obviously if you prepare for a fight, you're focusing on your opponent and their strengths and weaknesses, whereas now you're focusing on yourself and enhancing your strengths and reducing your weaknesses. Is that fair?
Yeah, and also you've got to remember when you're training for a fight, you can only do so much without burning out. So you can't be training 4 or 5 times a day and trying to fit everything in. You've got to mainly be focusing on, like you said, the tactics for your opponent and making sure you're at your peak in terms of your sharpness, your technical, your fitness. Whereas at the minute, I'm maintaining my fitness, but we're doing a lot more tech.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of technical sessions where, they're going over 2 hours long because we're working on so many different things. Whereas training for a fight, we probably wouldn't be able to afford these sessions because you'd be sidetracking from the main goal. Whereas now the main goal is to learn new things and add things to my boxing. So every day is something different. And also as well with GB, we're doing a lot of video analysis. So they'll send us like a weekly opponent who we have to watch. And then we'll take it to the Zoom session where they'll say, right, we'll talk about your opponent and you're going to box them as if you're the one boxing them. So that's been good because, again, it's changing things up and you're still boxing a different opponent each week sort of thing. So there's just been a lot of technical breakdown of what we're doing, adding new technical things. And it's been good because it's allowed to slow the pace a bit and think about what we're doing. Where, like I said, normally in a fight camp, it'd be more focused on making sure you're fast and explosive and sharp and just sticking to knowing what works instead of experimenting with new things.
As we were talking just off before we went live, like my background is in professional wrestling and a lot of the lads there are doing a similar kind of training thing, but they've said once this is all over, everyone's at day one again, aren't they? Is that a similar thing that's going on in boxing where there's going to be a lot of lads that are coming through again and really upping their game ready for when we're out of lockdown?
I think it's a difficult one because no matter how hard you train and like how much technical things you work on, boxing's all about how sharp you are, your timing, your reflexes, and the only thing you can get that from properly is sparring. Yeah. And obviously social distancing, the 2 meter rule and everything, that ain't been happening. And you do lose your sparring sharpness. So I think going back into it, when things do come out of lockdown, it will take a period of time where everyone is at square one, getting back into it. But I don't think it will take long because boxers are very determined and very committed anyway. And I think everyone would have been staying on top of the fitness and the tech. So I think they'll just be jumping straight back into sparring. And then within a few weeks, it'll be everyone's raring to go again. I know I will be, but I think that's the point. Work hard now so there's less to catch up on when it does open up.
Because it is a game of small differences, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you haven't got those small distances, and it's like simple things like you slip a punch and you don't slip it enough, that inch can be the difference between getting hit and not getting hit. And it's those little split seconds and inches that you pick up from sparring. And that's what you've got to be on top on. And I think once we get back to sparring, it won't take long at all. Because like I said, the fitness and the tech would have been maintained whilst we've been off.
Just get rid of the ring rust. Before we carry on, Nico, anybody watching this, if you haven't seen the comments, if you want to put your questions for Nico in the comments on this Facebook feed, we will bring them up and Nico will answer them, including this one from Conway. He says, with coronavirus in mind, what's your thoughts going on with UFC, boxing, and no crowds?
I'll be honest, I don't think it should affect the fighters much anyway, because from my perspective, when I get in the ring, it all gets blanked out anyway, because you're that focused on you and your opponent and the crowd. You're in like a bubble. So if someone said to me, oh, you've got a fight but you haven't got no crowd, it won't bother me in the slightest. Like the job and the objective's still the same, to get in there and win. So I'd take the offer straight away. It won't. But there is the fact that obviously having a crowd there, it does make it more of an occasion, and I can see why people would think it would take away from the occasion by not having a crowd there. But I think for the actual boxers, it wouldn't make that much of a difference whatsoever, or the UFC or any sort of sport.
You don't get it like, you know, you see like in football where the crowd, they're often called the 12th man, where they really make a difference to the team and pushing them on that extra bit. That's not a case with boxing at all?
I've never personally found it, because I think that sort of pick-up you get and the adrenaline boost, I think I get that from my corner men in the corner and also from myself, you know, the will to win. Because like I said, whether there's a crowd there or not, there's going to be a winner or a loser. And you want to walk out of the ring knowing you've won and having your hand raised. So that in itself would be enough for me to get that boost. Well, like I said, it's all on the individual, and maybe team sports would be different. But looking at it from boxing and UFC, I think the idea of going in there and fighting, I don't think you'd be that concentrated on the job you've got at hand. I don't think it'd make that much of a difference. And I think boxers and UFC fighters are probably getting that bored at the minute that they fight without a crowd anyway. You just want to get back to it.
Is UFC something that you take an interest in?
I do like watching it. I like watching all sports, especially anything combat-based. I mean, obviously, I prefer boxing because that's the sport I love and that's what I do. But I can certainly appreciate like the skill set these UFC fighters have, like to be a jack of all trades sort of thing and have you stand up and then take it to the ground. It is enjoyable to watch, and like you can only have respect for what they do, like any sport.
I like that answer. Sean Witham's been on. When you turn pro, will you fight at the One Call Stadium?
Of course I will.
Yeah, we know the answer to that, don't we? I mean,
I've always said it. I'll win it in Vegas and I'll bring it back to the One Call. We'll defend it at the One Call.
That'll be amazing.
We'll send Vegas yellow and blue and we'll bring it back.
Could you imagine the Mansfield lot rocking up in Vegas? Vegas wouldn't know what's hit it.
Oh, they won't have a clue, would they?
Tom Burton also asked about the One Call, but have you got any tips for taking up and starting boxing?
You've got to work hard. I know it's overused, but you only get what you put into it. And I think that doesn't necessarily mean just killing yourself every session, because it's a thinking game as well. You've got to work hard physically, but also mentally, and you've got to learn. You know, there's so many different techniques and things to do in the ring. You've got to be like a sponge. You've got to take it all in. And tips will just be working hard and just staying dedicated and working hard through it all.
How did you get into boxing then, Nico? What was it about boxing that you thought, yeah, that's a sport for me?
I originally started boxing to lose a bit of weight because I was obese as a kid, to be honest. I was 10 stone when I was 8. So I was a bit of a chunky lad, and I took it up a few times a week just to lose a bit of weight. And I think it's one of those things where once you dedicate so much time to something, you feel like you should take it to the next level. And twice a week became 3 times a week, 4 times a week. And before you knew it, I'd fell in love with boxing. And I thought, I'll try fighting whilst I've done all the hard work to get here. So I started fighting and competing. And then it all snowballed from there, really.
You do realise that answer you just gave me there, you've got a very wise head on your shoulders. There's not a lot of you. 20-year-old, am I right in saying, Nico?
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of 20-year-olds that have that level of discipline and understanding and drive to think, do you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it to my best of my ability. So I commend you for that, because I'm touching 40 and I did not have that attitude at 20. And I'm sure a lot of the people here will probably say the same thing. But I'm very interested in knowing how a 10-stone child becomes a Team GB boxer and a 2-time gold medalist, because that doesn't happen. So, like, how did we get from point A to point B?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because me and my dad, we have a standard joke. Because obviously he's been with it all the way. Like, he's been part of the journey. I'm never A to B. I'll never do things the easy way. You think of A to B and I'll go all the way around to get there, and I've always done things the hard way. And the tale of how it's happened isn't your simple, I did this and got straight on. It's been a lot of ups and downs. Like I said, the first challenge was losing the weight, because when I originally had lost the weight, it was just under 5 stone that I lost. Obviously I grew into it, but I'm still lighter now than I was when I first started. But again, just our reply to the previous answer when the lad asked for some tips, it's working hard, not only physically but mentally, because there's been a lot of different challenges throughout the years, but all of it's always been, working hard to lose the weight, working hard to get fit and start fighting, learning the different techniques, staying dedicated when you've got to get up and go for a run before school, and then juggle your schoolwork and your own work, and then come back and go back to the gym. Getting in the car after school on a Wednesday night, your dad going, right, we're off to Stoke. You're fighting the home lad on his own show in Stoke. Off we'd go. And it's simple things like that, which I look back now and I miss those times. But it's been a lot of hard work throughout the years, not only just from me, but from the people around me as well, to get from that chunky lad to being on Team GB. And throughout it all, it's just mainly been keeping the dedication and knowing what you want and being prepared to work for it. Because I think sometimes people say, I want it, but then when it comes to actually doing what you need to do to get to it, people don't tend to want to do it. And I think that's what separates most people, is having that will to, and the consistency as well. Because it's all right doing it for the first few weeks, first few months, but once that initial peak goes and you find out who really wants it, and like I said, it's been a long journey, but the hard work and the dedication is what gets you through it.
There's a school of thought where all successful people aren't the most talented people in the world. They're the most driven and the hardest workers. Like, you can have all the natural talent in the world, but if you don't push yourself, you'll never achieve what you want.
Yeah.
Another couple of questions are coming in. Richard Sills, who do you see as the best pound-for-pound boxer at the moment? He thinks he knows the answer.
He's got to be Lomachenko.
Yeah.
Just for the way, like I said, pound for pound, you take away the weight, you look at the technique, the ring intelligence and IQ, and the way they control the opponent. Lomachenko ticks every box. I mean, it's one thing to knock someone out, but to physically and mentally break a boxer down until they don't want to fight no more and they quit on the stool. I mean, that's something else. You've broken them. And Lomachenko does that on a regular occasion. And to do that against, world-class opposition, and he's been doing it for years as an amateur and a professional. So you can only look at that and say, well, no one can touch him.
2-time Olympic gold as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, that in itself is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
2 different weights as well.
Yeah, he's a special topic. We've got another one coming in as well. Colin Foreman. Do you think elites will happen this year? Glad to see you're the number 1 seed. This is your year.
Cheers, Colin. I'll be honest, the main thing is we get this sorted. Everyone's health is the main thing. And I think people are starting to realise now we need to make sure the virus is dealt with. Do I think it'll happen this year? I do, but I don't think it'll be for a good few months yet. And like I said, I think it'll be once everyone knows we've either got a vaccine or that every step's been taken to make sure people stop dying. So I think that's the main problem at the minute, and that's what we need to address. When things are safe, I do hope that they get put back on, because like I said, I was number 1 seed and I was looking forward to winning the elites and making my debut for GB.
There's a comment Colin made there, said this is your year. I've noticed in my time in Mansfield that the whole town is behind you. Like, there is this whole, there's this movement there of a lot of support and a lot of love for you, and there's a big community there. What does that mean to you? Like, did you ever expect the level of love that they have got for you? And please explain what that's like.
We're all Mansfield, aren't we, Doug? We're right, aren't we?
Right.
It's unbelievable. Like, being from Mansfield, it's like having one big family. And you go out in town, you see people, and Nico, how's boxing? How you doing? And I do genuinely feel like I've got the old town behind me, and it's great because when you go into the ring, you touched on it earlier about having a crowd behind you. I've got that even when I'm not in the ring. I feel like I've got the support of everyone helping me and cheering me on, and it is great. And like I said, I'd love to be able to take the whole of Mansfield to Vegas, paint Vegas yellow and blue, win it, and then we bring it back and make the one called the Fortress, and make people come and try and get it back from Mansfield.
That'd be amazing. I want to go back while the questions are still coming in. I want to ask, how did you actually get involved in Team GB to start with? Because do they find you, or do you apply to them?
No, there's no application. They find you. Okay. I'm not too sure how it works behind the scenes, but you get approached with an offer for a GB assessment where you then have to go up and you train alongside the current team and spar with the current team over multiple different camps. So you can't just go and have one good assessment.
Right, yeah.
You've got to go and have 2 or 3 good assessments. And they look at you not only as a boxer, but as a person, how you are as a team. Because even though boxing is an individual sport, you're traveling the world with these boxers and these members of staff. So you've got to fit the mold, sort of thing. And, it's a very close-knit team as well. So, once they're happy and they think you are good enough, you get the offer to join the team.
That's great. And then from there to the gold medals, was there ever a point where you thought, well, no, let's rephrase that. You're in a position where you could win a gold medal and you're going into that fight thinking, if I get this, I'm winning a gold. Do you let that enter your head? Does that add a layer of pressure? Or are you just is that, I think back to the Ryan Giggs mentality, the Alex Ferguson mentality, won it, put it to the side, next trophy? Or is there a lot of pressure that comes with that?
I think it all depends on the individual and how they process pressure and how they, because we all motivate ourselves in different ways. And with me, it's never about the gold medal. So I was never really bothered about trophies as a boxer. I was bothered about the win, being the winner, having my hand raised. So whether there's a gold medal at the end of it or whether there isn't, to me, it still matters just as much. So if I went into a fight knowing I'm winning a gold medal at the end of it, I'd actually just blank that and put it to the side. and my full concentration would just be on the first exchange of the first round, and take that and then move on, win the first round, win the second, win the third, enjoy the win afterwards once you've got the win. But I like to actually just tunnel vision myself, and when I get into the ring, just think of the job at hand. But like I said, boxers are different and sportsmen are different. Some people might, let that spur them on a bit more. But with me, it's always been about just winning.
That's great. Darren Shuttleworth has been on with a rather long question that blocks us out. But he says, I know Nico does this a lot. I want to say how proud Mansfield is to call him a son. I remember seeing Nico for the first time, thinking this lad is good. He's got the honour of watching you do fitness workouts at the Your Space gym. And he said, can't believe how well-grounded and mature he is. You deserve to represent your country and achieve greatness. I mean, that's a wonderful thing to hear, right?
And that's what I mean. That's the support I get from people in Mansfield. Thanks, Darren, by the way. I appreciate it. And it's just great to have that. Because like I said, it feels like I've got one big family behind me. And it makes things easier in training. It really does.
On the subject of supporting Nico as well, if you want to give Nico a follow on his Instagram, there's the address at the bottom there. It's at Nico_Leivars. And of course, the Quarry Lane Boxing Club, which Nico trains at on Twitter, is at QL Boxing Club. So if you want to give those guys a follow.
Also, my Facebook as well, just Nico Leivars. Just type that in as well and give us a follow. I'm active on both, so you won't miss out.
Let's give the young man as much support as we can. Jamie Hemmings has been on. What are your greatest achievements so far? What is your plan for future European Championships, Commonwealth Games, Olympics, etc.?
Greatest achievements. Winning the National Elite title and the GB Boxing Championships twice would be some of my greatest achievements, but also obviously getting on GB. But there's been a lot of different box cups and tournaments along the way, which, most people wouldn't know, but in the boxing world are like quite big things, like the Haringey Box Cup, the King of the Ring, where I also won Best Boxer. So there's been a lot of great achievements. With future plans, again, it's all dependent on how quickly we get back to the schedule. But the plans, as I did have them, was to win the elites. Then the under-22 European Championships were scheduled for October this year. Whether they'll still go ahead on that schedule, I don't know. But then next year, I was also looking at the World Games. And then in 2022... we've got the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, I think they are.
What about the Olympics, Nico? Is that something that you've got in your mind to achieve?
2024 is in my mind to achieve, definitely. But I like to think of my short-term, mid-term and long-term goals. And in terms of short and mid-term, I've got plenty of fish to fry before I start looking towards the Olympics. And I think the goals I've got set in place will build me towards the Olympics anyway. So like I said, with the tunnel vision, with getting the win and the gold medal, it's pretty much the same with my goals. I've set my short-term goals and I'll concentrate on them, the nationals, the under-22 Europeans, and then that'll only give me momentum and set me on for the Olympics in 2024.
Nice. What about turning professional?
That's always been a goal after the Olympics. That's always something I've wanted to do. I've always wanted to win the Olympics, get a gold medal, and then hit the pros and hit the ground running. Like you see a lot of pros nowadays, they'll have a lot of tune-up fights. That's one thing, we talked about Lomachenko. That's one thing I've always admired. And, he jumped into a world title fight in his second fight. And I think he's fastest ever 3-weight world champion now, isn't he?
I'll take your word for it, my friend.
Yeah, he hasn't messed around. He had a goal. He had enough experience in the amateurs, 2 Olympic gold medals, hit the ground running as a pro, fighting the best, proving he's the best. And he's got the titles to prove it now. And I think that's how I'd like to model my career. Get all the experience I can in the amateurs, because I am fighting the best in the world. There's no doubt about that. And then once I turn over to professional rank, which keep momentum and not waste time when I don't need to. I want to be challenging for British, Commonwealth, world titles as soon as I can be.
Richard has sent us in a question that we may have answered, but he says, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Like, if you can wave a magic wand now and say, right, in 10 years' time, this is what where I want to be and what I want to have achieved.
10 years' time, professional world champion, definitely. Hopefully by that point, undisputed, got a few belts, definitely. Boxing's not a long career, and linking it back to, not messing around in the pros, I'd be looking to turn professional at 24, 25. So I'd want to do as well as possible. And looking at myself at the age of 30, I think well-established world champion by that point, multiple weight, hopefully.
Oh, man, at 30 as well, aren't you? I want to talk about some of the. We asked you beforehand, like some of the boxers that influenced you and inspire you, and we just flagged up there. Canelo Alvarez is one of the names you chose. What is it about Alvarez that really inspires you as a fighter?
Alvarez is a funny one because he turned pro really young. 15, he was professional in Mexico. And he's had a lot of fights for his age. He fought Mayweather very young. He was a world champion very young. And every fight, you see him progress. And you've watched him grow in his career. And you watch Alvarez now in his recent fights compared to 5 years ago. And he's added so many things to his style. And he's got so many more things in the toolbox. And what I like about Alvarez is you can see him adapting and learning from each fight. And he's an unbelievable fighter. I mean, to beat Golovkin, and in itself, because no one wanted to fight him, really, and Alvarez took it. I know the first fight, there was a bit of a people thought he'd lost and whatnot. He got put as a draw. But in the second fight, he won it clearly. Changed his game plan and learnt from the first. And what I like about Alvarez as well, he's a counter puncher, but he does it aggressively, which you don't see quite often. He's on the front foot, he's stalking people down, but some of the counters and the combinations he gets off are unbelievable.
That's great. Another one that you've mentioned that we were talking about is Joe Calzaghe. Now, one of the great British fighters of all time, Joe Calzaghe. What is it about Calzaghe that you really like?
Again, there's quite a different fighter to Alvarez completely, style-wise. He had a good amateur career, very distinguished amateur, whereas Alvarez wasn't. But the thing I like about Calzaghe is the relationship with his dad was brilliant. I think, him and Enzo were bang on. And I liked it how you saw them both go through it together. And I like that sort of bond that they had because, his dad was very passionate in the corner. And you could see him going and getting involved as his son threw every punch. He was there with him. But also with Calzaghe as well, it was just the hand speed and the way he put his shots together and the combinations. And people always bring up that Jeff Lacey fight, but it's hard not to because you give him a boxing lesson. I'm
glad you touched on the fact of Enzo Calzaghe as well, because obviously your dad's your trainer. Is that we see a lot of parents doing training. Andy Murray springs to mind as well in tennis. What's it like working with your dad at such a high level like this?
Well, I think you've got to look at it. People tend to think, pushy parent. But no, my dad's actually a proper, full-on amateur and professional coach, and he's a very good coach. So to me, in the gym, it's boxer and coach. And then at home, it's father and son. And we've always kept it separate. Because I think that's the best way to do it. Because, like I said, he isn't a pushy parent. He's a very good coach. So when we go in the gym, he's still my dad, but it's a very, we're there for a reason, and we're there as a boxer and a coach to learn, to get better, and to win. And he's actually very calm. Like, you know, when we go to fight and everything, like, even though he's my dad, again, he keeps his coach head on and he's very calm in the corner. So it's good. And I don't see, it's only worked out positively for us. Like, we bring each other on so much, and I think we push each other as well. And like I said, it's an invested interest where we're both working towards the same goal. Excuse me. And I love it. It's brilliant.
Is he harder on you than he is on the others?
Oh, just a bit.
Yeah.
It's a common joke. I'm the guinea pig. Like, all his techniques and all his sessions and that, you can guarantee I've been the one to have to trial them first. So when all his other boxers are in the gym and they're getting put through it, I'm thinking, yeah, I know how you feel. Yeah, it's all right now, but when we used to be in the garage and it was just me, oh God, we had some gruelers.
You ever come to the point where you just, oh, for God's sake, Dad, just like give me a rest for 5 minutes? Have you ever had that, just like that frustration?
Yeah, but then again, it's the coach thing. I think whether it's your dad or whether it's a normal coach, you're on the bag and you're thinking, oh, give me a break. But then you sit back and you think, hold on, they're doing it because they want me to get better and they're doing it for my interest. So you've got to put up with it, haven't you? And feel the burn.
Richard Seals again. What do you think to Mike Tyson coming back? We were talking about this just before we went live.
Yeah. He's in good old nick, isn't he?
He's 53 years old.
But that's years of hard work and years of technical ability. You know, to be able to get back into it like that and still have the speed and the power, that's more than just brute strength and speed. That's the technical side of it, which is just through years of practice. And you know, at one point, greatest fighter on the planet, and many believe one of the best pound for pound.
In my mind, he's the greatest boxer of all time. Like, I don't know if it's my age and my era, but for me, he is the greatest. He can hold up against any heavyweight from any era.
Yeah, I think people always say, don't they, a prime Mike Tyson would beat anyone. And I think, you know, with regards to coming back, I don't know how that'll work. I don't know who he'll fight or how it will happen. But, you know, if that's something he wants to do, then all respect to him. Like, that's what he wants to do.
Well, it'll draw money. People will pay money to watch him fight.
Yeah, we'll put it this way. I think we can always expect Tyson to try and knock his opponent out. I don't think age will affect that.
100%. Jamie Hemmings is on. What advice do you have for young amateur boxers, both staying fit in body and mind during lockdown? And probably not just for boxers, I would say, just for anyone in general.
The thing I've found is just keeping a routine. Obviously, it's different because we're confined within a space. People might find it a bit easier to be like, oh, I'm going to lie in an extra half hour. I'm going to, you know, watch a few episodes on Netflix instead of getting up and doing something. Whereas I find if you keep yourself into a routine, not even with your training, just in normal daily life, you end up feeling a lot better for it and you feel like you want to get more done. And just being more active around the house and staying in a routine, you'll find you'll be more engaged and a bit more motivated to train. And the more motivated you are to train, the more you'll put in. That's the same for anyone. So, you know, if you're up and about and you're full of energy, you'll always end up training harder and pushing yourself more. And I think that's the main thing during lockdown. Staying fit mentally and physically is just keeping a routine and consistency. And like I said, if you're motivated to train, a session will always help you. Like, if you're motivated and you work hard and you commit yourself to it. There's no point training if you're not going to commit yourself to it. And I think keeping the routine will help.
And there is training people can do around the house, like go for a run, for example, get the bike out. Because not everyone's got weights at home or anything like that, have they? So, like, there are things people can do.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, we've all got access to the internet. Like, there's no end of body weight circuits you can be doing. You know, different aerobic classes there are online that you can watch and do along with, you know, like I said, taking a dog for a walk or going on a run. We can still go out for an hour a day and get your exercise in. And you've got to be a bit more creative. And I think it'll probably give people an opportunity as well to work on things, because like, I've been doing a lot of yoga whilst I've been off.
Nice.
Where it's normally I won't do yoga, whereas now we're doing yoga a few times a week, and I find it's helped me mobility wise. So, looking at that, once lockdown's over, I'll still be incorporating it into my normal training routine.
I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, I'm a big follower of DDP yoga. Diamond Dallas Page, he does the yoga for men. Is there something we could talk about here? Is what branch of yoga are you doing? Because he's done this where he takes like alcoholics, drug abusers, gets them into yoga and cleans them up. Like it's a hell of a positive thing. How is it benefiting you? Because people do think of yoga as quite a feminine thing, a bit of a hippie thing, whereas actually you being a gold medal boxer, that's the complete opposite of that. How is it benefiting you?
Well, no, I don't have mean sense candle on or anything like that when I'm doing it, put it that way. Well, Jamie touched on it with staying fit in body and mind, and I think yoga is very good for your mobility, which quite a lot of boxers struggle with because it's hard training and muscle stiffness and everything. And I found yoga, it's helped the mobility, and it lets you have 20 minutes, half hour where you calm yourself mentally as well. And just taking a step back and relaxing and stretching and doing the yoga, it is very good, and I think there are a lot of benefits to it.
It's something Ryan Giggs did to extend his career. We talk about Ryan Giggs quite a bit, but he played till he was 40, 41, and yoga really kept him to the high standard that Manchester United require. So I think there's definitely a lot in that, and you can do it at home.
Definitely. I think, your body can only go for so long before it starts to wear down, and anything you can do to prevent that is a bonus. Whether it's getting more sleep, getting your nutrition sorted, or stretching more, because the more injuries you can avoid, it's only better, isn't it? Like I said, you'd sooner play till you're 40 than have a career-ending injury because you didn't look after yourself and you got injured.
I am loving the irony of me giving people health tips as well, to be honest with you. Don't listen, I'm not the example. Nico's the example. I am not the example. Another boxer, let's talk about some more boxers that you gave us. Manny Pacquiao, obviously, has a big influence on you. What is it about Pac-Man that you really like?
I think it's just the whole story. I mean, you've only got to look back at coming from the Philippines where he had nothing. Determination and drive to train every day and do it for his family, and to come over to the States and just win title after title. And the blokes he's fighting now are huge compared to him. He's like 7 weight classes heavier now compared to when he started. And to win a world title at one weight is unbelievable, but to keep jumping up weights and beating everyone, he's definitely going to go down as one of the all-time greats. And I think even though he's got losses on his record, you've got to look by that and look at the career as a whole. It's an unbelievable career. And like I said, to have done it the way he has done, and also to do it to better his country as well, because it's not just been about him. I mean, he's put so much more money back into the Philippines now. And he's used boxing as something more than just the glory and the money. Like, he's helping families all over the Philippines. He's building houses for them. He's a politician now. And it's unbelievable to see a lad use boxing like he has done and grow up to not, because he is one of this generation's great boxers, and to achieve that whilst being a politician as well, it's not bad, is it?
That'll be you. You'll be like the politician for Mansfield by the time you've fought.
Don't know about that.
Anyone's got any more questions, keep them coming in. We're going to have Nico online for probably another 5-10 minutes. One more boxer that you gave us to talk about, of course, is Miguel Cotto. This young gentleman, well, I say young gentleman, he's my age, but what is it about this man that different to all the other guys we've spoken about?
He's just an absolute warrior. You only got to watch one Miguel Cotto fight and you understand the man, how he boxes. Again, he had a very close relationship with his dad. His dad passed away, sadly, just before one of his fights. still got in the ring, still carried on, absolute warrior. And no matter who you ask about Miguel Cotto, they all love him because he'd go in the ring and he'd put his heart on his sleeve and he'd just fight anyone. And he's great to watch him. I mean, his body shots are unbelievable. He's the type of boxer you watch and you sit there and you're wincing at every body shot. You're thinking, oh, God, they must be horrible to take. The amount of people I've seen him drop with left hooks to the body. Awesome.
There was always something about him as well. It's his height that got me. He's only not 5'7". He's not a tall fighter, which is normally you see the fighters, they're quite big lads, whereas he's a shorter fighter.
Yeah, he's left-handed as well. So even though he's orthodox, his strong hand is his lead hand, which is his lead hook to the body, which you don't normally get. But no, he's a very compact boxer as well. So he's not tall, but he's also quite compact in the way he holds his hands and the way he comes in low. So he is just a real good inside fighter. But at the same time, good amateur career, and he can actually box on the back foot going round the ring as well. It was just a shame in his last fight that he injured his bicep the way he did. But again, he still carried on all the way through with a torn bicep.
That's the sport. Like, I mean, you go into the ring knowing there's the risk of injury, don't you? You know that's always a possibility.
Yeah.
And Derek's been on with a little message for... No, Paul, sorry. I had Derek. Paul's come on. Just slip that one straight in there. Apart from your mum and dad, who in boxing is your ultimate role model that you would aspire to be, past or present?
God, there's so many. I'm going to have to bring him up again just because I admire him so much. Lomachenko, as a human being, as an amateur, as a professional, he's unbelievable. He breaks the mold. And I think he takes his own style and it's something so unique. And he's like transcended the sport and he's brought it onto another level. And there's so many people now looking up to him because he does things which people wouldn't have thought were possible in the way he boxes. And what I've always admired about Lomachenko is he's a counter puncher, but you wouldn't think it because he tricks you into throwing what he wants to counter. I mean, people always say, oh, this boxer, he's 2 steps ahead. Lomachenko is about 5 or 6 steps ahead. He's making you throw a combination so he can come around and counter it and then go. He's just that far ahead. And to be that advanced technically, it just takes years and years of hard work. You know, him and his dad have been working at his style for years, and it's unbelievable to watch it. And he's poetry in motion to watch his movement, his counters, and you can only aspire to that because it is like boxing in a nutshell, to hit and not get hit, and it's unbelievable to watch.
I hope that answers your question, Paul. I'm going to bounce a question back to you, Paul. That when Nico gets the championship that he wants, can he come and defend it at the Stags? I'm going to throw that back to you, Paul, and I think we know what answer you're going to have to give us. I did mention Derek.
Paul.
Yeah, none at all, mate, but people are watching. I did mention Derek's putting a message for you as well. Derek Farmer says he's proud of you, Nico. Mansfield Town's very own champion. And it just goes
cheers, Derek.
There is a lot of love for you, Nico, out there, which is wonderful. I want to, before we go off, Nico, I want to mention one more boxer to you, and that is, of course, Frank Bruno. Big Frank. Frank is going to be with Superstar Speakers in Northampton on Thursday, the 1st of October. Former world champion. Obviously a bit before your time, but if you can, and I have just sprung this one on you, can you mention anything about Frank Bruno?
The determination. I think picking yourself up and dusting yourself off and keeping a goal, and like I said, keeping the hard work. Frank's an example of that. You know, to win a world title on your 3rd attempt and to keep going is unbelievable. And I think when he did do it, the whole country was behind him because he just admired his will to achieve his goal. And I think that's what set Frank apart from the other boxers, is how people grew to love him because of that, the journey he went on to get where he got.
I mean, he won that belt going the distance as well, which you don't see in heavyweight boxing that often, do you?
He was a big lad and all. You've got to admire the fitness levels, haven't you, to shift that much muscle around like he did.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. We all know what that's like, you know. Right, so we are coming up to the end of the interview now, Nico. Is there anything that you would like to add? Any final thoughts, any messages, anything that you want to put in before we end today's broadcast?
As always, just thank you for the support. I mean, like you said, everyone seems to be wanting me to do well and supporting me as much as possible, and I really do appreciate it. And like I said, every day we work is a step closer to taking over Vegas and bringing it back to Mansfield. And I'm just thankful, and I feel a bit humbled, really, that so many people are following me on my journey and supporting me the way they are, whether they're from Mansfield or not. You know, I really do feel the love. And thanks for everyone who's tuned into this interview.
And of course, from all of us, from Superstar Speakers, everyone watching, thank you for giving us your time today, Nico. I'm going to speak on behalf of everyone. We wish you all the luck in the world. We're behind you every step of the way. I want everybody to follow Nico on his Instagram, which is at Nico_Leivars. And we've got Twitter for Quarry Lane Boxing, which is at QL Boxing Club, and Nico's Facebook as well. And of course, please, anyone wants to follow Superstar Speakers on all of our channels, you can as well. But for now, thank you very much to Nico.
Thanks for having me, Rob. I've really enjoyed it.
It's been fun.